I am just not exactly sure how much longer my channel has. There is one video, yes, that I maybe regret. Modern day fantasy shows are so horrendous. The question that everyone wants to know the answer to: do we want children? Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to a new video. Thank you for having tea with me today. We are going to just sit down today, have a little chat, nice and casual, laid back. So if you would like to join me here, then I sincerely invite you to make yourself your favorite hot beverage. I am having some Monk's Earl Grey, which is a blend of black and green tea with bergamot and vanilla. It is amazing. And I brought out the nice tea set for you. This is vintage 1930s. It's a family heirloom. I feel like it's been so long since I just sat down and had a little chat with you guys. So that is what we're gonna do today. I asked you over on Instagram and YouTube this time. I wanted to make sure to include the people that don't have social media accounts in this as well. Ask you guys to send me any questions that you have, and I'm gonna go through a bunch of them today and answer them so that we can just catch up, because so much has been happening lately. This seems like a good question to start with. How are you doing? Is the anxiety better now you've moved? Oh my gosh, yes. I feel like a new person since we've moved in here. I tend to forget how bad it was those last couple of I was gonna say months. No, honestly, since the pandemic, I was not okay throughout all of that. Quite a substantial part actually of the anxiety surrounding that situation was the fact that I felt like we were never going to be able to get out of it, and that we would be stuck in that situation indefinitely, pretty much. I had a lot of worries about the housing crisis in the Netherlands and not being able to find a place to live, and by extension not being able to have the life I always envisioned, or if I'm honest, maybe kind of expected for myself. I think it's pretty normal that when you're a kid, you imagine yourself as a grown-up the way that other grown-ups around you are, and that kind of shapes your idea of what is normal and what the expected trajectory of your life is going to be. But the times have changed a lot since I was a kid, and that standard of normalness, I guess, that was set in my mind when I was little is not necessarily the standard anymore, and it's become and is still becoming increasingly difficult to achieve those things that were so standard and normal when I was small. I really struggled with changing that image, I guess, that I always had, or the way that I imagined my future would look like. I always felt like what I wanted was a simple life, and like I wasn't asking for much, but the way the world is now, it is asking for a lot. Like, it is asking for much. And that realization weighed pretty heavily on me. I don't adjust very well to changes. That is something I tend to struggle with a lot. I honestly feel like we slipped through the eye of the needle buying this house. There was a very small window of opportunity for us to do it, and if we hadn't done it at the moment that we did, we wouldn't have been able to do it for years to come. There were many different factors that all needed to line up in order to make this happen, and it's a small miracle. Not actually, it's a miracle. It's a downright miracle that it happened and that we are here now in this house, and I am so incredibly grateful. Like, all of the anxiety that I had surrounding that is now replaced with just gratitude, overwhelming gratitude, and the feeling that we got so incredibly lucky. I guess what it all comes down to is I feel safe now. We have a place that is ours and that is adequate, and a place where we could stay for the rest of our lives. Having that need met has alleviated a lot of the anxiety I had. The home we live in now fits and reflects the life that we lead. My entire being just sighed a sigh of relief, and I feel so much better now. It's incredible. Have you ever considered coming out with Loepsie brand tea blends? I'd love to get some to go with my mug. I have definitely considered this. It's something I've been thinking about for years. I also have no idea how to pull this off. Launching a product in general is something I wouldn't know how to do without a lot of help. But then I feel like launching a food product or like something that is consumable is a whole different level of running a business. You know, there is so much to consider when you're selling food, especially when you're selling food internationally. It is definitely a like far ahead in the future dream of mine to have my own tea collection one day. I think I would be good at this. I think I could make a really good tea collection. I just have no idea how to go about something like that. Is that a canal at the back of your home? If so, will you be paddleboarding? Yeah, lots of confusion about the bit of water behind our house. I kind of showed a little bit of that in my garden makeover video. Yes, there is a canal running behind our house. Canal is not the right word for it. The thing that it is has no word in English. I realized that we have so many words for all the specific different kinds of waterways in the Netherlands, like in Dutch, that don't exist in English. I think canal is the closest thing to it. Canal, in my mind, is like these grand things that we have in inner cities in like Amsterdam, Utrecht, Delft. It's not the thing that's running behind my house, which is just tiny, but it's man-made. Basically, we have lots of canals in the Netherlands. Almost our entire country is below sea level, and this is one of the ways that we contend with that and make sure the entire country doesn't flood. We have loads of waterways throughout the entire country. It's kind of cool to have it out there, but also it's nothing special. They are everywhere in here, so people don't really jump on the opportunity to use the waterways for anything else than just this is where the water goes when it rains. So it was kind of funny to me, the excitement that people felt when they saw the water behind my house. This specific canal doesn't really lead anywhere. Like, I think we could potentially go down it, but there are bridges, but not much more than the water itself is really supposed to go under them. So I'm not sure if we would even be able to go under any of the bridges, which would just leave us going back and forth in our own street, which isn't very long. And then even if you could go under the bridges, I'm pretty sure the water is just in our neighborhood, so it wouldn't make for a very exciting trip on the water. So I don't think we will be putting any vessels on that canal anytime soon, but it is kind of nice to have. There are loads of frogs in there and ducks and other kinds of wildlife. Oh, and also it's not directly behind our house. There is a little like walkway between our fence and the canal, but it is private property, so only the neighbors use it to get to their backyards, and that's it. What was your first job ever? My first job, I think I was 14 when I took this job. I worked at a store called C&A. It's a clothing store that we had in town. I didn't like it. I made no money and I felt very underappreciated in that job. I think I worked there for a year, and just before that I got an email from Google that I was invited into their AdSense program, which was very exciting and unique at the time. This was in 2009, 10 maybe? Round about that time. I quit. And I've been a YouTuber ever since. There have been some short stints where I worked in retail when I needed a little bit more money than I was making off of YouTube, but in general, YouTube has been kind of my only job for the most part, for the majority of my life. Are you going to be making any more historical costumes? I loved your 18th century outfit series. I would love to. When we bought this house, the previous owners left a bunch of curtains, and I feel like those curtain fabrics really lend themselves so well for making some historical clothing. And specifically, there is one set of curtains that immediately when I saw them, I was like, that is a Regency dress. I also happen to have some Regency short stays. I got that from Joni from Rainbow Curve Corsetry when I went to her place to do fitting for my custom corset. So I have those, and I would love to make a Regency ensemble with that, using those curtains and those short stays. So that is definitely something I want to do, and there is more. Yeah, this is definitely something I would like to explore more in the future. I just need to find the right patterns. Do you own a car and do you have a driving license? Yes, and yes, we bought a car during the pandemic when the lockdowns happened. There was this one bit where you weren't allowed to use public transportation unless you were a key worker, and also I just didn't want to go on public transport at that time. So yeah, we bought a car right around then, and I've had my driving license for a while now. I think I was 23 when I got it. Oh, this person also asks, what is Robert's job? He is a software developer. What is your favorite ballet that you've seen? I'm gonna go with Giselle. Any career plans? How do you see your future as a content creator? Oh boy, guys. Okay, so I have been on YouTube, I just talked about this, since I was 15. Which is a long time to be on YouTube. I'm 30 now, so it has been 15 years. Not many YouTubers last this long, and there are reasons for that. And I am just not exactly sure how much longer my channel has, or not my channel, but doing this as a career, like how much longer I can keep this up. I absolutely love doing this, and there's nothing I would rather do than be a YouTuber. Such a big part of this is completely out of my control. I can keep putting out videos, but it all depends on whether people watch them and whether brands think I'm worth investing in. And those things tend to go in peaks and valleys. Until now, every time there's been a valley, there has been a peak after it again, but it's really hard to tell at the beginning of a downwards movement when it's gonna be a valley and when you're just diving off a ravine and this is the end, which is really, really scary. And the longer I'm on here, the more I worry that there's not going to be a valley anymore and it's going to be a ravine from now on. So I have definitely had to think about this a bit more lately. You know, what direction I want to go in once YouTube is no longer viable as a full-time job. And it's difficult, I'll be honest here. I no longer have anxiety surrounding our living situation and the future in that regard. I do have anxiety surrounding my job security. Oh man. Is it silly to admit this? I don't know. I'm not a very good businesswoman. That's another struggle. I don't know how to sell myself, and that is the biggest issue I've had in my entire career. But yeah, for the first time in a long time, I am seriously considering other options. I have talked about looking into potentially starting a small business, but I do want to say that even if I'm no longer able to do YouTube as a full-time job, I'm not going anywhere. I have been doing this for my entire adult life, and before that. I cannot imagine my life without YouTube. Is that, oh, I don't know if that's maybe a little sad, but I don't view it that way. I just really love being here, and it's become such an essential part of me and my life. I would be really sad if I could no longer do this full time, but I am thinking about backup plans. To stay on the topic a little bit maybe, how much time does it usually take for you to have a video idea up to filming, editing and uploading that video? So I usually spend a week on one video, but it greatly depends of course on the content. So if I'm doing a sewing video, I usually need a full week or more, again depending on how complicated the project is. I have started breaking up bigger projects into multiple videos, which is so much better and does take a lot of the pressure off. But when it's a smaller project, it usually takes a week, and I will have 3 days to film, 1 day of editing, and then 1 day to do all the stuff that surrounds it, writing the subtitles, answering emails, things like that. So in general it's a week, and sometimes when I have quicker videos or videos that I filmed over a long period of time, like in between, then sometimes I upload 2 videos a week. I've started doing that again. But yeah, I think in general a week per video is about where I'm at. Any videos that you regret making? Not really, I don't think. I have, some of you guys have noticed, I have privated a lot of my old vlogs. Not because I regret making them, but because they just felt, I looked at a couple of them and seeing myself so young, looking back at them now, they felt very intimate, and I wasn't comfortable with having that online for the whole world to see anymore. As well as my food diaries, like my earliest food diaries. I left a couple up that I made later, but I used to make some when I had just moved out and was just living on my own, and I honestly had no idea what I was doing. I mean, it was fine, but I was a student. I was on a very low budget. My meals weren't as varied as they could have been. I wasn't fully aware of all the food groups and how to get all of the nutrients that I needed. Even though they were fine, there was no like dangerous or weird advice in them or anything like that. They were okay. If people are looking for what to eat, those aren't necessarily the videos that they should be watching. That's why I privated those. I very much feel like a lot of my audience has grown with me. I've never really had an audience that was younger than me. In my statistics as well, in general, my audience tends to be around the same age or a little bit older than me. So I'm okay with all of that. There is one video, yes, that I maybe regret. Well, not necessarily the video itself, but I worked with a sponsor once and I didn't do enough of the research that I should have done before working with them. I did a video for them. It was a really good video. I really liked that video, but the company itself, well, first of all, turns out it wasn't really an existing company. They were like a Kickstarter project, and when I checked a couple weeks later to see if, you know, they had launched yet, they were actually kicked off of Kickstarter, and that was so awkward. I just went ahead and deleted that video straight away. Wanted nothing to do with that company. Even though the product itself was actually good. I never advertised for products I don't stand behind, but I just really wasn't aware. They never mentioned of the stage of production that this product was in. I really regret that, and since then I have been so much more watchful of what I agree to, like what I agree to promote on YouTube. But yeah, I do have some regrets about that, but that's honestly the only thing. I feel like this question is somewhat in a similar theme. I'm just curious, do you still braid your hair in loitering styles? I first started watching your videos after finding your tutorial for Tariel's hair style from The Hobbit. Do you still study languages and play the harp? I would love to see content like that again. Love your videos. Thank you. This comment made me feel so nostalgic. I think when we follow people on the internet, it can be so hard to realize just how quickly time flies. The stage of my life that this question talks about was 10 to 12 years ago. I graduated my bachelor's in Celtic Studies 9 years ago now. I am old. I no longer study anything. Yeah, that was a decade ago. Yeah, my life looks very different now than it did back then. I still love the Lord of the Rings. I will always love the Lord of the Rings, but it's not as active a part of my life as it was when I was younger. Also, I kind of lost my passion for hairstyling and doing my own hair, because that's all I did, honestly, was just do my own hair. I kind of lost my passion for that as my hair kept falling out and getting thinner and thinner and thinner. There was a time when I did all my hair tutorials with hair extensions, and also I made hundreds, literal hundreds of hair videos, and at a certain point I just ran out of inspiration. I started out doing the fantasy stuff, then I moved on to historical hairstyling, and at a certain point I just exhausted all of the inspiration I had for hair tutorials, and that is when I kind of switched my content to different topics a little bit. Just hairstyling in general isn't as big of an interest of mine anymore as it used to be. I do still really enjoy making the occasional hair tutorial here and there, but I don't think it's ever going to be the main focus of my channel, just because my channel always very much reflects my own interests at the time. Someone else asked like how my channel has developed over the past 12 years or so that they were following me. I've always kept my channel very close to the real me and to my interests that I have at the moment, and it makes sense because that's what I'm passionate about, and I feel like I make the best things and content as well when I'm passionate about something. That just works. That's how content creation works on social media. So my channel naturally just evolves with my interests, and there have been certain themes that are consistent throughout my entire lifetime on my channel. I mean, I'm me, of course. There are certain personality traits and interests that I have that I will carry with me probably forever, but there are also things that change over the years, and sometimes my focus shifts more from like beauty to fashion, back to beauty, back to fashion. I now obviously over the past year have had the ability to focus a bit more on interior design, which I've always loved. So with that in mind, I also got a lot of questions about beauty beacons, and if I'm ever bringing back that series. Probably not, guys. I'm so sorry. I know so many of you loved that series. I feel like I really stretched this series as far as it would go. The numbers were declining so much. Obviously, there's only so many like notable historical figures, well known enough that people will click on the video, but not as well known that I still have something, you know, new to tell about them. And at a certain point, I had to move on to more and more obscure historical figures, and people lost interest. That's kind of when I stopped making those videos. I noticed that the views were going down. I was running out of people that I was interested in to make these videos about, and yeah, the series just ended. Beauty beacons of fiction I didn't enjoy making as much as I did the historical beauty beacons, because I was missing the whole kind of little biography bit that I really enjoyed about beauty beacons. That's obviously not there for the fictional beauty beacons. So yeah, that series was wonderful while it lasted, and I consider it one of the highlights in the history of my channel, but I don't think I'm gonna bring that back. On to something more lighthearted. Do you have any travel plans for summer? Yes, we have very solidified plans for summer now. Actually, very soon we are leaving with some friends to go backpacking in Sweden. Just full on into nature, camping. We're gonna carry everything on our backs. It's gonna be wonderful. I cannot wait. I absolutely love doing this, and it's been a long time. So that is what we're gonna do very soon. And of course, I'm gonna be visiting my family again over the summer. And other than that, we're just gonna take a lot of time to enjoy the garden I've been working so hard on. I've seen that you mentioned in earlier videos that your diet is a vegan one. Honestly, are you taking any supplements, or is that diet enough to feel healthy? Also, do you eat sweets, sugar of any kind? The reason why I am on a predominantly vegan diet, I prefer to call myself plant-based at home is usually the term that I go for. I do that for ethical reasons. I try to reduce the harm done to animals as much as possible. I am privileged enough to be able to have a healthy lifestyle, maintain my health on a diet that doesn't include animal products, and that is able to prevent that cruelty, and that is why I choose to do so. I don't necessarily believe that a vegan diet has to be healthy, has anything to do with health in general. It's not about me, for me personally, it's about the animals. I do also try to eat healthily, but it has nothing to do with my veganism. So yes, I absolutely take supplements. Every vegan should take supplements, as should every vegetarian. At least B12, very important. I take a multivitamin specifically made for vegans and vegetarians that includes all of the essentials that you need and are more prone to be deficient in if you eat on a diet like this. I tend to also supplement protein myself, just to be absolutely sure. I use protein powders on a fairly regular basis. I am not opposed to supplementing at all. And as for sugar, I don't have much of a sweet tooth. Potato crisps, things that contain a lot of fat and salt. That is what I tend to gravitate towards. So sugar, I don't care about it. I also don't really care for it. It's just not really something I think about a lot in my life, honestly. So hope that answers your question. What shows are you watching at the moment? Guys, I don't know if it's just me. Please let me know if you agree, but I feel like modern day fantasy shows are so horrendous. It's my favorite genre, but every single fantasy show I try to watch is so bad. What's going on? Why? I just can't. I don't know what's going on. Honestly, the best thing I've seen in a long time has been The Last of Us. That was incredible. I did find the first episode very difficult to watch, like when the outbreak happens. The pandemic was a hard time for me. And this brought back a lot of those emotions. So I was this close to giving up on it, but afterwards it wasn't as realistic, I guess, anymore, and I was okay, and it was a really good show, so I really enjoyed that. But honestly, other than that, we haven't really watched many shows, but we don't really have time to watch any shows because we are catching up with Critical Role Campaign 3, and they are 4-hour plus episodes, so that's gonna take a while. Yeah, just really enjoying that at the moment, so we haven't really been watching any shows. On that topic, someone asked, with all the renovations and moving everything, have you had time to play D&D still? Absolutely yes, that is a non-negotiable. Every single week we play. In fact, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary this week. Yeah, earlier this week. So I have been playing D&D for 10 years, and someone asked what is my favorite class to play, and the answer is Warlock. That is superior, no doubt about it. Do you feel at home in your new community? Any tips on getting to know your neighbors and becoming a part of the community? We do, actually. The neighborhood has been so welcoming. The street that we live in and quite a few of the ones around us, the people that live here now are the first people that ever bought these houses when they were built. So this is a very strong community. These people have known each other for 50 years. They were so warm and welcoming. We have stayed in touch with the people that we bought our house from. They are still in touch with all of the neighbors. And when we got the keys, the first thing we did was knock on all of the neighbors' doors to introduce ourselves. And when people run into each other on the street here, they stop and talk for a little bit, which is miles different from the way things were in our Amsterdam apartment building. We had no idea who our neighbors were out there. We only knew their names because of the little name tags on the door. No idea. People moved there all the time. We never knew when something was going on, when someone was going to start renovating, which was like every single month. In here, everyone knows each other. Everyone knows what's going on. If you need help with anything, you can just knock on someone's door. The biggest tip I have is just straight away go ahead and introduce yourself. It's the best thing you can do. That way you get a good feeling of what the attitudes are in the neighborhood. Like, do people generally talk to each other? Is it appreciated if you're open like that? Or do people keep to themselves a little bit more? Ask your neighbors what you can do to make sure that you can both live there comfortably. Try to be considerate of each other, of course, but that's a given. We are very introverted people. We don't very often initiate contact with the neighbors, but when we do run across each other, we always make sure to have a little chat with them. Be kind, be considerate. Lots of questions about whether we're going to get a pet in this home. Oh guys, okay, back to the pandemic. During that time, so many bad things collided to make just a mess. One of the things that happened during that time is I used to have rats. As you may know, I had rats for 10 years, 10 generations of them, and I loved those pets to pieces, and I got incredibly attached to them. I went full maternal instinct. I mean that quite literally. I would know when something was up before you could tell anything was up with them. I would wake up in the middle of the night if something was wrong and, you know, in another room. It's just, yeah, full maternal instinct. I loved those pets like they were my children. And the thing with rats is they only live for about 2 years, which means that for the past 10 years, I put myself through grief and loss very regularly, and it was so hard. It was so hard, and especially this last bit. My last generation of rats lived incredibly long. They were 3 years and a couple months old, which is insane for male rats, and their bodies were done by the end. And I was just basically locked at home for months, watching them slowly get worse and worse and worse, and then having to eventually make the decision that it's enough now. You know, when's the right time and when do I need to make that decision, and will I be able to? Will the vet's office still be open when I need them? And then eventually having to actually, you know, go through with it, and just, oh my gosh, even thinking back on that period, I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it anymore. I cannot put myself through that again. Getting a pet, any pets, even other pets, you know, that maybe live longer, just the possibility of this, no, it's not a possibility, it's a certainty, they will pass away. I just can't do it anymore. For that reason, no, we are holding off on getting any pets. If we ever do at all, it's not going to be for a couple more years. So yeah, that's a no. Okay, the last question I'm going to answer is the question that everyone wants to know the answer to. Do we want children? I wish I could give an easy answer to this, but this is a very complicated subject, and I am debating on how much detail I want to go into on this topic, because I have a lot to say about this topic, but it's such a sensitive topic and so personal that I just don't know how to navigate it. Maybe I will decide one day, just for the sake of putting this point of view that I have out on the internet, and sharing the thoughts I have. The short answer is yes, we would like to have children someday. Please don't take that as an invitation to guess when I'm pregnant. Thank you. Okay, I have been talking for ages, so I think I'm gonna end here. I literally finished my tea in the first question, so I hope you enjoyed yours. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for being here with me. It's always a pleasure catching up with you. I hope you are all doing well. And if you're going through a rough patch right now, I hope things get better for you soon. I really appreciate all of you being here and all the support you have given me throughout the 15 years that I've been on YouTube here. It is a long time. I am a YouTube dinosaur. If you would like to support me through Patreon, there's a link in the description box below. Thank you so much. And I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!